Hi, I'm Azzy, thank you for joining me. Using the ScanNCut, I'm going to show you how to use the weld function on the object edit screen. So let's start with welding objects. So if we go into patterns, let's go into basic shapes and let's just pick a rectangle and set it to the mat, and let's pick a circle and set it to the mat, and let's do one more, and a hexagon and set it to the mat. So from here, well, all that weld means is to join or weld shapes together. So as long as they're overlapped, they can be joined into one piece. So we've got an overlap here and we've got an overlap here. We can have these shapes at any edge joining any of the edges of any of these three shapes to overlap them. So if we wanted to, let's change the orientation of the rectangle. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees. We can have it like that. So it doesn't have to be, let's go back into right to the edge. We can have it as far over as that. We can have it going into there. We can have it as close to the edge as that. So from here, go into select all, say OK, object edit, and this is our weld function. As long as it's lit up, you can weld any of the objects that are on the mat. So if I tap on here, it's welded them. So what it's saying here is, once I weld them and say OK, I can't go back and undo it. But at this point, if I see this shape and I think, well, that doesn't look right, I can cancel it, go back, change it around. Let's tap on here, let's bring this down a bit, let's put this here, maybe like that better. Go into OK, back into select all, say OK, object edit and weld. And again, you can see what the shape looks like before you OK it. But once you've OK'd it, that's that. So now there's no way of undoing that. So let's do something that makes a bit more sense. So if we go back to the main screen and say OK, go into patterns, let's go into here. Let's pick up this book page and set it to the mat and go into add, back into patterns, and go into here, and I think the pencil is in here. Oh yeah, here we are. So now what we want to do is weld this pencil to the top of this page. So we've got this page in the right orientation, but we need to change the pencil to make it horizontal. So if we go into edit, object edit, rotation, and rotate it 90 degrees. So now they're both facing the way that we actually do want them. So from here, both of these objects should be at 3.94 inches. So that's 3.94 in the width, and so is that. So we know that they will sit on top of each other exactly. But we need to align them so that they are sitting above each other correctly. So if you go into OK, select all, go into OK, go into object, go into align, and we want to align them horizontally. So if I tap on here, you'll see that they're just adjusted to sit on top of each other exactly. So if we go back into OK, go into the magnifying glass, let's go into 400, move this over so we can see it. So now if I tap onto the screen, we can see what we want to do first of all is move the top of this page to the bottom of the pencil. So if I tap on here and move that up, oh, that was exact. Okay, let's just go down a bit. Right, okay, so you can see there's a gap there. If we go a bit, right, so they're sitting right on top of each other there. So now if I just nudge it one more upward and I tap on the pencil and nudge that down one. That isn't enough of an overlap to be able to weld both the pencil and that page together. So go into OK, into select all, say OK, go into objects and weld. And again, you can't reverse it once you say OK, so that's OK. So here we have now got what possibly could be the front of a card. So if now we want to make it into a card, we need to duplicate that. So if we go into duplicate, +1, say OK, we've got two facing the same way, but we need to mirror image one of those because we want to join them at this point here. So if I tap the mirror image button, it's flipped it, but they need to be this way round. So if we bring them down to the bottom, bring that to the very bottom right, and bring this one to the very bottom, and again we just want to get them just touching. So if we go into the magnifying glass again, whoops, and go to this point where we can see them. So here, if I just move this along, that's moved up now a bit, there we go. Right, so let's move this over. And there. So now what we want to do, again, nudge this one to the right, and nudge this one to the left. So if I do that one to the right, nudge this, highlight the right one and nudge it one to the left. That is enough of an overlap for that now to weld. So again, if we go into OK, go into select all, say OK, object edit and weld. And it's telling me again, if you say OK, you can't reverse it. So if we say OK here, now if we have a look at this, let me go into the magnifying glass. So if we were to cut this out and score it down the middle here, the front of that card would give us the look of a page that's ripped out of a book at the bottom and a pencil that's welded to the top. And then obviously you could cut them out separately and decorate them however you want to your project to look. But that's the essence of welding objects together. So again, if we go back to the main screen and have a look at some letters. So from here, if we go into patterns, go into the alphabet, let's pick this one. We want to, let's just say, use the word love. So we need to put the letters on individually. Say OK. So now we've got these. Okay, so now if we want to weld these, but we don't just want them straight across or just vertical. So let's say we want this letter L to be here, but we want the O just to be sitting down there a bit, the V up here somewhere, and then this E just that's how can we have it hanging down here somewhere, let's say. So if we go into 400, to start off we can see that better, and we can see how much we're overlapping it. So let's look at this O. So with letters you just want to overlap them very slightly. So if I move that here, you can see it's just overlapping because quite obviously we want to see most of the letter so we can see what the word is. So now if I move this V just to hit the side of that O there, if I touch that one you'll be able to see it's just hitting the side of the O there, and again with this E So let's say we have that here somewhere. So now, because they're just touching each other, we'll be able to weld them. So from there, if you just go into OK, into select, select all, say OK, object edit and group, weld, sorry. And again, it's telling us you can't reverse it once you say OK. So now it's become one whole word. So if we resize that, let's make that bigger and we'll be able to see. So when you cut this, it will just be one word without obviously just being separate letters. So that's the whole use of what weld is, so you can do these kind of elements. Okay, so let's just say we want an umbrella with a flower on it as an example. So let's go into here, pick up the umbrella, set it to the mat, and say OK. Go back in and go into here. Let's use this flower and set that to the mat. And so as we can see, this flower's way too big to put on our umbrella. So first of all, let's make that umbrella bigger. So we've got a big umbrella here, and now we've got this flower. So let's resize the flower and take that down to what might look okay around there. And say we just wanted to put a bunch of 3 flowers there. Say OK. So we've copied them, so we've duplicated them. From here, if we go into the magnifying glass, it's always best to go in the magnifying glass and make it 400%, because that way you can just see it a lot easier. Okay, so we can see this flower's here. As we can see, that would be a big gap there, so really you'd need to have this flower so that it sits right over onto the umbrella, so it doesn't look odd like it's hanging about somewhere. And then this flower you could have so that it's going to weld across that flower and that one. Where's the other flower gone? Oops. Oh, okay. Oops. And then let's say we want to join this flower here. So when you look at it on here, it looks all messy, but once we've welded it and you'd cut these elements out all separately and then stick them on, they would actually look okay. It's just that it looks messy on here. So if we go into OK, again, go into select, select all, say OK, object edit and weld. And say OK. So if I go back into the magnifying glass, you can see here where it's joined all of the flowers and the umbrella all together. So what's happened now is when we cut them, we would cut an umbrella separate, the 3 flowers separate, and then they would sit all layered on top of each other, but the back would all be one, so that you would be able to have a layer to put all the elements on individually, but also where the placement would be of them. So that is how to weld objects together. My first video that I did on YouTube actually was a video of how to weld, and that was showing you how to weld a flower to the top of a card and the front of a card, and then make it into a full card base. So you may want to go back and look at that as well. I hope I've given you the basis of how to use the weld function on the ScanNCut. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.